It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight, Sir Keir Starmer's migrant deal will see less than a boatload of illegals return to France every week. And
do you think that they give you money in England?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, but I think they are give me England. They are give me money. You can help me anything. I can need it. Maybe you help me.
I'll reveal everything illegal migrants get for free in Britain. Plus,
Are we cash or card, mate? Are we cash or card, mate?
I'll also reveal exactly how much Axel Rudiker-Barner has received in taxpayer-funded legal aid. And
now, jury trials have been a central part of our Constitution for centuries. In Magna Carta, indeed before it, they are a gift that we have given to the world.
Robert Jenrick will be live on this show at 10 p.m. Loads to go through. Apparently he's now to the right of Nigel Farage on immigration and, of course, the scrapping of jury trials. Plus,
the main reason this country wisely voted for Brexit back in 2016, and that included millions.
Nigel Farage was heckled in Parliament by an MP who appears to be in favour of people having sex with their first cousins. Also,
they've responded with 5 days of strike action, which, as far as I'm concerned, is both unreasonable and unnecessary.
will you never forgive junior doctors if they strike again? And
Macron, is that you? Macron, it's me, Keir Starmer. See what I did there? It's Keir Starmer, but...
well, the most famous cancelled comedian, Dapper Laughs, is back. He's on my show and he's got a big announcement for you. Plus,
this is a tax on all of our constituent savings, on their houses, on their pensions. It would be a tax on aspiration. Will the Prime Minister rule this out?
Sir Keir Starmer is skewered on tax rises. On my panel tonight, we've got the Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, former Tory MP Jonathan Gullis and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. And what's going on here?
Like, we support our people, you know? We love our immigrants. Yes, Superman is an immigrant.
And from 11 p.m. until midnight, it's Late Edition, the first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Any breaking news as well. Get ready, Britain, here we go. I'm going to tell you everything illegal migrants get for free in Britain. Next.
Good evening, it's 3 minutes past 9. I'm Katie Bowen in the GB newsroom. The small boats crisis is a, quote, shared priority that requires shared solutions. Sir Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron agreed as they met earlier today. The French president said France's renewed partnership with the UK was a game changer as he met with the Prime Minister in Downing Street for talks. Mr Macron is demanding tougher action to make the UK less attractive to illegal migrant arrivals. That's as the Prime Minister hopes to strike a one-in, one-out deal to send small boat migrants back to the continent in exchange for the UK accepting asylum seekers in Europe who have a British link. Also today, Sir Keir Starmer says we are now entering a new era of world history. That's as he joined the French president at the British Museum to mark France loaning the Bayeux tapestry to the UK. As part of the announcement, the Sutton Hoo artefacts will be loaned to France in a cultural exchange next year. President Macron is attending a banquet at the Guildhall tonight. Victims of the infected blood scandal say they are waiting to die in limbo, with just hundreds having received compensation to date. In a hard-hitting report, the chair of the public inquiry into the disaster, Sir Brian Langstaff, said there were obvious injustices in the way that the scheme had been devised. He adds only 460 people had received compensation. It's thought 30,000 people were infected with HIV and hepatitis B or C in the 1970s and 80s after being given contaminated blood products on the NHS. A police officer has denied he lost control in the aftermath of being allegedly assaulted by two brothers at Manchester Airport. The trials of Mohammed Fahir Ahmad and Mohammed Ahmad continue at Liverpool Crown Court. Both deny the allegations. Our reporter Jack Carson was in court today for proceedings.
The cross-examination of PC Zachary Marsden continued at Liverpool Crown Court today as the defence questioned his actions on the day of the alleged assaults. We saw CCTV footage in court and mobile phone footage that was shown in court and shown to the jury, appearing to show PC Marsden with his knee on the back of Mr. Ahmad and also on the head and neck area of Mr. Ahmad. The defence put to PC Marsden today that he had not been honest with the jury or acted with integrity that day, saying he abused his position as a firearms officer using unnecessary, disproportionate and unreasonable force. They were claims that PC Marsden denied. We also heard today in court about how he feared for his own security. The trial here continues.
And speaking in a press conference this evening, US President Donald Trump said that there are more tariffs to come. And the president also touched on the conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine. On the economy, the president has reportedly issued tariff letters to Algeria, Brunei, Iraq, Libya, Moldova, the Philippines and Brazil. The president went on to say that he was not happy with what's going on in Ukraine as Russia launched its largest drone attack on Ukraine since the war began. The president said that he will consider sending Patriot missiles to President Zelensky's country. On Gaza, President Trump said that there is a very good chance of a settlement this week. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Breaking news, literally just in the last minute. There has been a major defection to reform from the Conservative Party. And that defection is the former chairman of the Conservative Party, Sir Jake Berry. Sir Jake Berry has quoted as saying, "Our last chance is now to pull Britain back from terminal decline." And obviously he was formerly the chairman of the Conservative Party, and now appears to say that the Conservative Party is doomed. So that is a hammer blow for Kemi Badenoch. So we will bring that to you in a bit more detail as we get it. If you're just joining us, Sir Jake Berry, the former chairman of the Conservative Party, has defected minutes ago to Nigel Farage's Reform UK. Actually, quite good timing for us, because in about 40 minutes' time, we have Andrea Jenkins on the show. In fact, she's in the waiting room just over there at the minute, so we can talk to Andrea about that. I have asked Jake on. He's very politely said that he's going to let Andrea do the talking, so no pressure, Andrea. But anyway, there we go. Big news to kick us off. But back to the show as planned. The Prime Minister is on the verge of signing a new migrant deal with the French. 44,000 illegal migrants have broken into Britain in the last year. So, what Sir Keir Starmer managed to negotiate with President Macron. You ready? We will send just 50 people a week back to France, reportedly. So, just look at this migrant boat here now on your screens. Right? If he agrees this deal, Sir Keir Starmer will send back probably less than that boat every week. In fact, it amounts to sending one back for every 17 illegals that arrive. President Macron has taken more than £700 million of your money, done naff all with it, and is humiliating Sir Keir Starmer by saying that actually the problem is illegal migrants get too much for free in Britain, which of course he's right about. Today, the Prime Minister posted this picture on social media. It's him shaking hands all buddy-buddy with old Emmanuel. And he captioned that, quote, "Working together to deliver for working people." Well, OK then, Sir Keir. What I'll do now is rattle off all the things that illegal immigrants and asylum seekers can get for free in Britain today. So here we go. As soon as they arrive, they get new clothes and shoes. They get free accommodation, some in 4-star hotels. They can get priority access to social housing. And if there isn't any social housing, then the taxpayer will pay, sometimes above market rate, for private rental accommodation. They get free mobile phones, no need to hang around on an NHS waiting list. They can have access to an on-site GP and dentists. Unfortunately, though, there's very little chance of those doctors or dentists using medical age verification checks to determine that they're not actually a child. They are, in fact, a 54-year-old man, because that would be against their human rights, which is why we see stories like this. A Sudanese man with a beard and a receding hairline is, of course, a child. And you might be wondering how he paid for that court case. Well, they get legal help for free as well. In fact, you're going to pay £60 million a year for them to fight to stay in Britain, because the government has just increased legal aid funding by 30%. If they have children, then they can get a free education. In fact, they can just keep having children, because once you're getting everything else for free, you might as well crack on and let us pay for them as well. Maybe they can't understand how much free stuff they get in Britain. But that's fine, because we'll give them an interpreter for free. But it gets worse. You are paying for illegal immigrants to learn how to become nightclub DJs. Croydon, a council placed into special measures with around £500 million of unpaid debts, is spending your money on trying to make migrant DJs a thing. But how will illegal migrants and asylum seekers travel around Britain? Well, in Oxfordshire, taxpayers were paying for illegal immigrants to have driving lessons and take their driving test. Look, it's really stressful getting all this free stuff. So some local councils are now paying for illegal immigrants to take yoga classes. Bristol Council, which faces 53 million quid in required savings, spent 270 grand of Home Office grants taking migrants to football matches. They can be given a free PlayStation. Cardiff Council is teaching illegals circus skills. Or maybe that is why so many of them can do a disappearing act. But of course, the big thing we seemingly let them do is this.
The hotel here, you can see there's a lot of Just Eat bikes here, a lot of Deliveroo bikes, loads of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whereabouts are you from? From Yemen. Yemen, you're from Yemen. Okay. Okay, and did you get here by boat? No, English. Whereabouts are you from? From Iran. Okay, from Tehran or? Sorry, you can if you want, it's a free country. Yeah, a shopkeeper in the shop behind me, he confirmed the hotel is an asylum hotel, and people he said arrived on small boats are now staying there. And he also said he's seen lots of the residents of the hotel doing work on Uber Eats, on Deliveroo.
Yes, of course, they can just work illegally for Deliveroo, Uber Eats. It's everything, isn't it? We're giving them everything for free, aren't we? I don't know, do you think I've missed anything? Oh, actually, yes, I have. Because the government says that it's deporting people, but in reality, they're paying around 53 million quid to make them leave. So you'll even get free money on the way out of Britain. I mean, that's the reality. And until that changes, sending 50 blokes a week back to France isn't going to make a blind bit of difference. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood. We have got former Tory bigwig Jonathan Gullis, and of course broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Thank you very much. Great to have you both on, or all of you, in fact, on the show. Mark, I'll start with you. Right, OK, so we give them everything for free, don't we? This migrant deal about 50 blokes a week going back is pointless.
Risible. Window dressing, pathetic window dressing, entirely performative. Not using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, not cracking the nut at all. I mean, in your monologue there, Patrick, you were channeling your inner Emmanuel Macron, weren't you? He's got a point, the French president. If people sincerely believe there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, they will go chasing to the end of the rainbow.
Especially if that pot of gold exists.
Yeah, this isn't a myth or a fairy tale here. This isn't a myth or a fairy tale. We've covered Dover Beach in gold. So, I mean, no wonder people are turning up. If you have got a magnet that strong, then all of the talk of smashing the gangs, arresting people, trying to get the French cops to stop them coming over is for the birds. Because with that amount of gold on Dover Beach and other beaches, and at the hotels when you're putting them, of course people are going to risk their lives coming here.
Yeah, so from the second that you kiss British soil, Jonathan, you start getting stuff for free. And you don't stop getting stuff for free either until the day that you die here of natural causes at some point in your 70s or 80s, or we, on the vanishingly small possibility that we do deport you, will even give you money on the way out. Why not come to Britain?
Well, exactly, and this has been the problem all along, is not having an effective deterrent, and the deal that's coming out, where was it, one out and 17 in, or whatever it is. I mean, it's just laughable and risible, as Mark rightly said. I think it's about only 5% will actually be deported. That means you've got a 95% chance of remaining in the UK, so why on earth wouldn't you take the chance to put your hard-earned money from wherever, whichever illegal sources I'm sure that's been sourced from, into the hands of smugglers and get you across? And then, like you say, look, the Labour's, what's it pledged? They're going to end hotels by 2029, so still 4 more years of hotel use. And what they're not telling us is that the government's either buying up hotels in places like Bristol and Cardiff, or going to smash the private rented sector market, which means that British people in local communities are going to be paying more to live in predominantly substandard housing.
Yeah, so, Nina, again, that's an extensive list of everything that you get for free. You can even become a DJ if you live in Croydon. Fantastic stuff. So why on earth should British taxpayers continue to pay for this? And when Keir Starmer released that picture and video of him in an old Emmanuel today and said, working together for the working people, they're not, are they? Because working people are going to have to pay for all of that.
It's a very good start, I have to say. It's not everything, but it's a good start. And I'd like to point out several points. One is that migrants get benefits in France. They have health care, they go into social housing, they're given weekly money.
It's better here, though, isn't it?
Well, it may be marginally better, but that's debatable. Very often, only about a third of migrants who come to France end up coming to Britain.
Right.
Thank God.
Well,
sorry, that's quite a lot.
That's massive.
Or they attempt.
Right.
Secondly, you know, when Starmer came in, this is the situation he inherited. He did not inherit, he did not create this system, so he's been completely blamed for it. He has been trying to change it. Okay. So what was the worst thing was the fact you were given France all this money and they've done naff all, basically. Well, that was because since Brexit, we have not had a decent relationship with France, where Boris Johnson blew the gates wide open. Never mind taking back control. Boris Johnson...
Well, it didn't help that Emmanuel Macron tried to steal a load of vaccines during the COVID pandemic.
Never mind that. We needed to get a better relationship with France. And I've sat on the sofa every week and said, use the soft power of the king, which is done finally.
OK, but go on, deal with the quality of this scheme, though. So, fundamentally, is this a deterrent? 50 blokes going back a week?
Utterly trivial, isn't it? Jonathan's right. This does not tilt the odds or the winnings to an extent that it's likely to change any human behaviour. And in terms of Nina saying, well, you get benefits in France as well, the best thing to look at is how people actually act. How many people are risking their lives to flee Dover and try to make it to Calais? Don't think I've heard of any such example. So whatever's on the table here is clearly vastly more attractive to people than whatever is on the table in France.
One of the biggest draws that people come here is because they have family here.
Oh, come on.
There is a route for that, isn't there? There's family reconciliation. You don't need to cross the channel illegally.
Family, look, that's only Ukraine, Afghanistan and Hong Kong.
But you can still make applications to the Supreme Court and to the ECHR.
You cannot make applications until you're here. There is no application...
So do you think it's over-generous, Nina, what we offer, or not?
Well, you know, I think that the worst thing is actually that we have a real black market that people can disappear into.
Okay.
And also the Home Office should be making a better fist of that list.
People at home can make their own minds up about whether or not that is an extortionate amount of freebies to give someone who's broken into Britain, and whether or not you at home get anything like those level of freebies. But I'm going to squeeze in something else now, because at the start of the show, I told you that Sir Jake Berry, who occupies a position on this sofa most Monday evenings, has defected to Reform. He's the former chairman of the Conservative Party. He's released a video, so here it is.
Britain is broken. We literally live in a country where you cannot walk down the street with a phone in your hand. We have taxes that are so sky high, the brightest and best are leaving our country in droves. while at the same time a benefit system that is bringing the world's poor to our shores with no control. If you literally want to design a system to destroy a country, you would struggle to do better. And I know who broke it, because I was there. For 30 years, I supported the Conservative Party. For 14 years, I was one of their MPs, sitting at that cabinet table twice. And I want to tell you today, my friends, that I have come to a decision. The old parties do not have what it takes to transform our country, to build a Britain we can believe in again. And that's why I've decided to join the Reform Party. It is only Reform and Nigel Farage who can deliver a Britain that we are proud of again.
OK, Jonathan, your views on this. Are you going to be defecting to Reform anytime soon?
Look, I'm sorry to obviously see another ex-colleague of mine join Reform UK, but it also understandable. Look, I was out there during the local elections. There's not enough understanding of what Conservatism in 2025 even stands for. So our leader has to really roll up her sleeves and work much harder to actually give people some hope and some vision. I've been a member my adult life, 18 years of the Conservative Party, and I've never felt so despondent about it. However, I do think that Reform have had a very shaky time since the local elections. I think a bit of arrogance has crept in. I think a bit of off-messaging, and obviously internal fighting. So this will probably come as a huge sigh of relief for Reform UK. It's the first bit of what I say good news they've had since the locals, and it will see if they can buck their ideas up since.
Yes, well, we'll return to this because we do, as luck would have it, have Dame Andrea Jenkins on the show in about half an hour's time. We'll talk to her about that. But yeah, that breaking news, Sir Jake Berry has defected to Reform, having formerly been the chairman of the Tory party. Right. There's still plenty of time for you to grab your chance to win a cash prize of £54,321. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Loads more coming your way. I'm going to be revealing exactly how much Axel Rudy Cabana has been paid in legal aid. I'm also going to be joined in the studio by Dapper Laughs, the comedian that survived cancellation and addiction, to tell his story. And we've got Dame Andrea Jenkins on. And breaking news tonight, former Tory party chairman Sir Jake Berry has defected to Reform. But before all of that,
responded with 5 days of strike action, which, as far as I'm concerned, is both unreasonable and unnecessary.
will you ever forgive junior doctors if they strike again? That's next.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Will you ever forgive junior doctors if they strike again? Head to head. So the Health Secretary has warned the striking doctors that the public will, quote, never forgive them after they announced a fresh walkout over pay. So here's what he had to say earlier today.
Responded with 5 days of strike action, which, as far as I'm concerned, is both unreasonable and unnecessary. They've had a 28.9% pay award thanks to this government. There isn't a precedent in history for a British trade union calling strike action in these circumstances. So I say to them even now, the offer to meet remains open. The need for these strikes does not exist. Work with us rather than against us, not least because resident doctors know as well as everyone else the NHS is hanging by a thread and they're threatening to pull it.
So he's rattled off the pay increase they've had there. The fresh strikes will wreak havoc on the NHS. There were nearly 1.5 million appointments cancelled the last time they walked out. And new polling shows that only 1 in 5 voters support resident doctors going on strike again. Tonight I'm asking, will you forgive them if they do? Going head-to-head on this now are NHS nurse Julia Taylor and retired doctor Dr. Bing Jones. Thank you very much. Julia, I will start with you, please. Yeah, will you forgive them? Will the public forgive them?
Well, as a nurse, I know the toll, I know the grueling shifts, the relentless pressure, pay that falls short of sacrifice. I stand with the resident doctors, but I must argue fervently against striking, and I've got 3 reasons why. First, the patients suffer. Strikes in 2023 delayed 1 million appointments, and we've now got 7.6 million people on waiting lists. We've seen their despair. Patients are abandoned to uncertainty. I think to strike is to wound those we're supposed to care for. Second, progress is tangible. The 2025 pay rise lifts the starting salary to £39,000 a year. That's a 22% leap since 2023. The Labour government are actually still offering dialogue. Why trade that for picket lines? Third, strikes risk alienating the public, like you said, our greatest allies. In 2023, 60% of the public backed the doctors' strike. Now, 1 in 5, did you say? It has already eroded goodwill, which turns supporters into critics. And as a nurse, I know we need the public voice. We better keep them happy.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Bing, I've been crunching some numbers on this. If you start studying medicine at 18, by the time you're 31, there's a chance that you could be a consultant. And a report from the Nuffield Trust suggests that an average total NHS earnings, including additional payments for a consultant, is just below 150 grand a year. If you then do private work, you're well on the way to 200 grand a year. That's for life until you choose to retire. And, of course, you also get somewhere in the region of a 12.5% pension. So, actually, there's no need to strike, is there?
Well, Patrick, I usually come onto your programme to talk about destroying the climate, so this makes a bit of a change. We don't want to destroy our NHS. Nobody wants to go on strike. I hope, I pray that both sides can avoid this strike. I'm a consumer of the NHS. I'm an old person. I need doctors. But look, we have to ask a simple question. And the simple question is, who do you want looking after you? Who do you want looking after your children? Do you want a top doctor, or do you want somebody who's kind of an apology for a doctor?
Sorry, hang on a minute. I'd have a man or woman who's on close to £200,000 a year, please, which is what we're getting. So what's wrong with that?
These are not consultants. The consultants.
Well, they're going to be, aren't they? They're going to be.
The consultants will be balloting soon, and they're probably
the consultants are going to go on strike. Flip it.
Like our nursing colleagues. Our the Royal College of Nursing has just recently called their offer of 3.9%. They called it grotesque. OK, the NHS is basically very, very expensive. We've got to make decisions about where the money comes from, but it's got to have to be found somewhere. We've got a choice. Either we have a private system where the rich get the good service and the poor people get the poor service, or we have the NHS. And if we have the NHS, it has to be paid
Again,
for.
I'll just deal with some actual facts here. So the amount of NHS funding per year is more than the entire GDP of Portugal. Right, so there's a huge amount of money. We are, as I've said several times, just a health service with a country attached to it now. And for the record, I'm much more sympathetic to nurses, hospital porters, some of the staff who do a lot more of the grunt work in hospitals. I'm much more sympathetic to them getting a pay rise than these jumped up little resident doctors who don't know that they've got it bored. But I've got to bring in Julia back in now. Look, Julia, the public are not with you on this, not you personally, as in the junior doctors. They're not with them on this. I fear that this is going to be a disaster, and crucially, people will die as a result.
Well, yes, that will happen. It's awful that is going. And it will actually happen, Patrick. And look at all the appointments that were missed in 2023. All those million appointments. People desperately need help. There's a lot of poorly people at the minute. And I don't think we should strike. It would be the last thing I would do at the minute, especially the way the economy is. Let's get the money from somewhere else if we're going to start paying the public sector more. But how many people in the private sector got a 22% pay rise?
Well said.
You tell me that.
Well said. And Dr. Bing Jones, I'll put this to you. The junior doctors, resident doctors going out on strike hate Britain. What's your view on that?
That's the most silly GBNews type stupid
If they
thing
loved
to
Britain,
say.
they'd realise we've got a massive backlog. They'd realise that they need to do their duty, that they need to help get people off beds and back into work and back into and get them better. If they don't, and all the excuses, Dr. Bing Jones, isn't it? Oh, well, they'll just go to Australia then. All right, I'm sorry. I think if you walk out on strike of 22% pay rise, the answer to that is that you don't really like Britain.
Patrick, I sincerely hope that you don't need to see a doctor soon. But if you do need to see a doctor, I hope that doctor is kinder to you than you are to your listeners and to your presenters. These people are highly skilled, highly motivated.
Yeah, they are.
They come out of university with £100,000 worth of debt, and they get paid £17.50 an hour. And if I was talking to one of my colleagues earlier on today, who said that he is regularly offered 4 times his NHS salary to go abroad.
Yeah, right. And why is that? Why is that?
Patrick,
Why is that? Because they have a different healthcare system, Dr.
thinking...
Bean-Jones. Because in Australia, they have a stronger private healthcare system, a higher cost of living, and potentially greater autonomy in practice. The problem is not the funding. The problem is the way the NHS is run. And instead of them picketing out there, meaning that people will die, meaning that people will get more and more sick, complaining and wringing their little socialist hands about the whole thing, why don't they get back to work and try to change the NHS from within?
Well, why don't you, Patrick, stop wringing your GB News right-wing hands while money is going to the very, very rich? If these people went to work for asset, if these junior doctors worked for asset managers, they could earn 4 times their salary.
Different
These are
job,
good
isn't it?
people.
Yeah.
And their pay has been eroded by 25% or something like that over the since 2008, and they still have a 20% need.
Just out of interest, Dr. Bean-Jones, sorry, it says here retired doctor, doesn't it? What age did you retire?
I've been retired for a long time.
Right,
and
great.
I'm now a consumer,
why could you retire?
Right?
Sorry, no, stop. Why could you retire as a doctor, just out of interest? Why? So young. Why could you retire?
I didn't retire young. I'm just very old, all right?
What age did you retire?
I don't know what your point is, Patrick.
You know what my point is, and you don't want to answer it. You were able to retire young as a doctor because you earned a good living and you can have a nice retirement, and that's the thing that you don't want people to say. Julia, I'll give you the final word on this. Look, Julia, I'll give you the final word on this. Is there some truth to this, really, that actually, look, we need to pay them a load more money because otherwise they will just leave country?
A little bit, but again, I'll say it again, we're cracking a nut with a sledgehammer here. Why don't they work to rule instead? Then that doesn't affect the patients. It just affects the management. And then they pass on, we need this and we need that. The money's got to come from somewhere, though. And where?
Yeah, well, there we go.
Look, barristers went on strike recently with only 15% public support, and they got what they needed because we need barristers. We need doctors, and we need to look after them.
We've had a pay rise.
Need to be well paid.
They've had a pay rise. I don't know anyone else who's had a 22 or 24% pay rise in the last year, but anyway, there we go. Thank you very much, both of you. Great stuff. Now, I'll reveal exactly, this is a big story, exactly how much the evil Southport killer, Axel Rudy Cabana, has been given in taxpayer-funded legal aid. And Dame Andrea Jenkins from Reform UK is on. Why? That big breaking news at the start of the show. Former Tory party chairman Sir Jake Berry has defected to Reform. But before that...
Macron, is that you? Macron, it's me! Keir Starmer. You see what I did there? It's Keir Starmer, but...
I'm joined live in the studio by Dapper Laughs, the comedian that survived cancellation and much more. Stay tuned.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Largely sunny skies across the Mediterranean. It is a little bit breezy in parts of Greece and Turkey over the next couple of days, but still lots of blue sky to be had here. Small chance of a shower in Croatia, but mostly they're staying away to the north and east. Small chance of a shower across Catalonia as well, but most of Spain dry and sunny. Bit of an onshore breeze bringing some cloud to the coasts of Portugal, and fine and sunny in the Canaries. Continued risk of a shower or two in Barcelona into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A very good evening to you. Temperatures rising over the next few days. Another heat wave for a large part of the country. Strong July sunshine thanks to this strong area of high pressure. There is a weather front just draped over northern Scotland that will continue to bring some cloud and patchy rain here through the night and for tomorrow. But most places under the influence of high pressure will be dry. Light winds may turn a bit misty in a few spots, particularly around western coast, and it will be quite a warm night, especially so in the southeast and East Anglia. 16-17 to start the day on Thursday. Should be a lot of sunshine across England and Wales tomorrow, more so than today, although parts of the west will start a little drab and a little misty, probably starting fairly cloudy too for Northern Ireland. Good chunk of central, southern and eastern Scotland also having a sunny day tomorrow. But on the west coast, a grey starts. Likely to be some rain and drizzle at times here too. For Northern Ireland, maybe a bit of drizzle at times along the north coast, but generally it will be a fine day. Some sunny spells coming through in Belfast and lots of sunshine for England and Wales. These western coasts likely to start with some mist and low cloud, and that may take a while to shift because the winds are so light, but certainly many inland areas having a lot of sunshine tomorrow. And it will be hot sunshine as well. Temperatures higher than today's values, likely to get over 30 degrees somewhere across the southeast and many places into the mid-20s at least. And it's starting to turn warmer still across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Friday's a similar story. The threat of thicker cloud and drizzle at times over the northern and the western Isles. Threat of some mist and low cloud around coasts, Irish Sea coast, perhaps North Sea coast too. But for most, it's hot and sunny on Friday, and temperatures ticking up even further, more widely up into the high 20s, and a few more places likely to exceed 30 degrees. May well get hotter for the weekend.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, very shortly there is a very serious story indeed, which is I'm going to reveal exactly how much taxpayer-funded legal aid that evil Southport killer Axel Rudy Cabana has been given. But before that, a little bit of light relief, because you might remember him from a few things, maybe Celebrity Big Brother, but before that, Daniel O'Reilly, aka Dapper Laughs, was Britain's, well, I think maybe first cancelled comedian at that particular time in 2014. His TV show was dropped by ITV, his UK tour was cancelled. By the way, I think it was a load of rubbish, but anyway, there we go. Since then, he's turned his life around big time, and he's 1,000 days sober now. He's launching a new podcast with, I believe, fellow comedian, is that right, Simon Brodkin? Is that right?
No, it's a big stand-up comedy show next week with Simon Brodkin, yeah.
Tell me what's going on, tell me what's going on.
Oh, 1,000 days. Yesterday I was 1,000 days sober, so thank you very much. It's a bit difficult having them milestones when you can't really celebrate, you know, it's just like it's a zero and sniffing some talcum powder. But it was a great day, 3 years anniversary with my wife as well, and I ended up spending the evening with Shia LaBeouf. It was really weird.
That is weird.
It was like all the stars aligned. But I've been on a mad journey. For anyone that follows me on my social media, you'll know I'm wearing this, looks like Shrek's like snotted me out, but this is my charity, Men and Their Emotions, which came back about in a really weird way, because I sort of took my social media on my journey through my sobriety. I suffered from sesh culture, do you know what I mean? Like many lads do. You know what I mean? Just grew up drinking and whatever, living for the weekend. And then when my responsibilities caught up with me, you know, having kids, a mortgage, all of that stuff, just the part, I couldn't stop the party. It just continued, and then it got in the way of my life. I always thought addiction was every morning waking up and going for a bottle, or do you know what I mean? I never knew that you could have, just because I thought, because I had breaks in between sessions, that I wasn't an addict, but it was every time I drank or whatever, my life just turned to carnage. And finally admitted I had a problem, and I was quite public about it. And a lot of people reached back out to me through my social media, and I couldn't deal with them all. It was quite intense, so I created a Facebook group originally called Men and Their Emotions. So anyone struggling, go and have a look at it. It's a group on Facebook, Men and Their Emotions, where lads can post anonymously on there, and then other lads wade in with lived experience. It's a bit like watching Jeremy Kyle, makes you feel better about your own problems, but also you get some real advice in there, because men are struggling out there, you know, and there is an epidemic of men taking their own lives.
100%.
Yeah, and I was close to that, and drugs plays a big part of it, but mostly lads being unable to communicate, and we're trying to push a narrative that real strength is opening up and talking. You know, vulnerability is strength. Do you know what I mean? That's how you sort your issues out. And now it's a charity. We're raising money for counselling and dry houses for lads. and we've got a big show next week. Me, Simon Brodkin, Tom Davis, Tom Ward at the Indigo at the O2. Just search Mates, and that's me plugging it. I'm headlining it because I'm back as well.
You are very much back, by the way. Look, just one more on this, because you mentioned a great point there. It's not spoken about enough, right? Not just the addiction side of it, but men's mental health anyway. It isn't. I think I'm right in saying suicide is the single biggest killer of men under the age of 40, which is nuts, right? Absolutely nuts. And what you're doing, really, I think, is to try to help with that, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's all well and good. Like, it's... People can say whatever they want about GB News, but I reached out to so many different places to try and promote this, and a lot of different... I mean, I don't know if it's me because I'm naughty, but a lot of different platforms and programmes. Everyone's screaming about men's mental health, but no one's really doing much about it. You know, not many people wanted me to get on and talk about it. No one's taking notice of this charity and this movement. And I think it's fashionable to talk about men's mental health, but what I'm trying to actually do is take money, get counsellors, give it to lads that can't afford it, dry houses for lads that can't afford addiction, real help, and creating a space where lads can actually talk. It's shame and guilt that kill men. You know, their life's falling apart. There's many different stress. There's about 5 million people in the UK that are pulled in different directions by multiple stresses at once, you know, money, housing, addiction, whatever. And
well, you're an advert for the fact that you can actually pull it back round, because there was also a lot of turmoil, which we'll talk about quickly in a second, just career-wise, right? But, you know, you've managed to keep your family intact, you managed to keep everything, you've managed to keep your life, you managed to keep your jobs in the end, and will build yourself back up, which is testimony to the fact that you don't have to lose it all. But just quickly on this then, so it's Men and Their Emotions, Mates, Men
and Their Emotions on Facebook. The event's next week. Just search Mate at the O2. But if you go on Facebook and just put Men and Their Emotions and you're a man, you can get in it.
Fair enough. All right, pretty easy entry. It's my kind of private members club, that, mate. You can just walk into it. But I did want to have a chat with you as well about... We hear a lot about cancel culture. You experienced it, of course. But especially free speech in Britain at the moment. There's a lot of feeling that under this current government, the free speech might be under threat a little bit. But there's just some of the stuff you put out there I think is absolutely brilliant. We've got a little clip of it here.
Oh, no.
Macron, is that you? Macron, it's me, Keir Starmer. You see what I did there? It's Keir Starmer, but I'm very excited about the train sesh. Listen, I wanted to ask, does Frédéric get on it? No, I know Zelensky does. He'll be bang on the marching powder, but he gets pub grub. So I was just checking Frédéric's in, and if so, I was going to pick up before I come over. No, you cheeky I do like a freebie, but no, it's my shout. OK, I'll get it. Well, technically, so the taxpayer, isn't it? The great British people.
Yeah, I'm at pains to stress in case you... Okay, for the heart of thinking, that is, of course, comedy, and none of the allegations made in that video are true. Yeah. But anyway, do you ever worry that you're going to say something that's going to get you, like, a knock on the door from the police or something?
Oh, God, no. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, especially when you're going at Keir Starmer. But I think it's brilliant. I think, actually, that it is ridiculous that you've got to worry about what you say, especially on social media now. You have got to be quite careful, because they will come for you. They will come for you. But also, I think that there's a lot of people out there that want to hear it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a goldmine. Politics these days is a goldmine. All I'm doing, whenever I take the mick out of someone like Keir Starmer or James O'Brien, he's another great character. Check out my Twitter for him. Absolute... Yeah, anyway. But what a great way of putting it is, I just simply take what they're actually saying and create a character and say it, you know, because it all came about from lockdown when Boris Johnson was saying all of these stupid rules and regulations, like, you know, curfews and, you know, COVID will get you after 11 but not before 7, or, you know, like a pint, the person couldn't hand you the pint because you get COVID even though they put the pint on there, and all that madness. And just the people seem to lap it up because we're sick to death of the lies and the crap.
Mate, it's brilliant to have you back. It is brilliant.
I'm on tour soon as well, 70 dates. I just sold out 60, I've got 70 more. I'm back.
Look, there you go. Well, I won't ask on air for free tickets, but maybe off air. Anyway, right, legend, mate. Well done. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. It's great to have you back. And yeah, well done, especially with everything that you're doing for men's mental health, addiction, all of that. Right, look, very shortly, we're pressed for time now. I've got Robert Jenrick in the studio. He's got a lot to react to. Plus this.
This is a tax on all of our constituent savings, on their houses, on their pensions. It would be a tax on aspiration. Will the Prime Minister rule this out?
Oh, Keir Starmer's been skewered over taxes, but yes, I'm going to reveal right now, though, exactly how much that evil Southport killer Axel Rudy Cabana has had in your money for legal aid. Stay tuned for all of that.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Duper, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's News Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. OK, so big story this. Now, the parents of a 7-year-old girl who was stabbed 33 times in the Southport atrocity have described how their daughter fought like hell on the first day of evidence in the Southport inquiry. The little girl lost her body's entire blood volume but survived thanks to 2 life-saving operations at Alder Hey Children's Hospital. But tonight, GB News can exclusively reveal that the Southport killer, Axel Rudy Cabana, got an astonishing £90,000, nearly £90,500 actually, in taxpayer-funded legal aid. So you have paid that amount of money for Axel Rudy Cabana. Dame Andrea Jenkins of Reform UK joins me now. Thank you very much. Your reaction to that amount of taxpayer-funded legal aid to Axel Rudy Cabana?
It's abhorrent. I mean, taxpayers, Patrick, taxpayers should not pay to defend the indefensible. You know, money should be going to the victims' parents. You know, these young children who were murdered, and the money should go to them. But I mean, look, there's a history of this, Patrick. I mean, I was looking earlier. Andrew Harper's killer's got 465,000 legal aid. Stephen Lawrence, 400,000. Lee Rigby's murderers got several hundred thousand worth of legal aid, and we've got to change the system.
The argument would be that everyone deserves a defence, and if you get rid of legal aid, then that will mean that some people who are just unfortunately, not got the means, would go without a defence. So,
it'd be pro bono, isn't it? In the US, they do pro bono with certain lawyers, and sell their stuff and put it towards it. Get the parents to pay towards it. I'm sorry, that money should not be going on brutes like that, who, in my view, do not deserve to live. People who, we've got to say allegedly at the moment, haven't we? Murdered children don't deserve to live in my books.
Yeah, I know that will really stick in the craw for a lot of people. That Axel Rudy Cabana, after everything he's done, just a completely disgusting specimen, really, has got more than £90,000 in taxpayer-funded legal aid, and I believe only pleaded guilty right at the last moment, I think, from memory. So he's dragged that out big time, which is probably why the cost has increased as well. I've just got a statement here from a legal aid agency spokesperson. Axel Rudy Cabana did not receive a penny of this money. It went directly to lawyers to ensure that he faced a fair trial so that he could be imprisoned for his crimes. Yeah, absolutely, but of course that money has been paid, for him, hasn't it, if that makes sense. But look, there is another story that I'd like to talk about, a little bit lighter, must be said, and that was the breaking news that we brought you just moments ago, which is that former Tory party chairman Sir J. Berry has defected to Reform. The ex-Red Wall MP said that the Reform was the last chance to pull Britain back from terminal decline. I think we've got a short clip of him here.
Britain is broken. We literally live in a country where you cannot walk down the street with a phone in your hand. We have taxes that are so sky high, the brightest and best are leaving our country in droves, while at the same time a benefit system that is bringing the world's poor to our shores with no control. It is only Reform and Nigel Farage who can deliver a Britain that we are proud of again.
Well, you were actually, as luck would have it, his PPS.
I was.
Wait, what does that mean for people?
So, ministerial aid bag carrier,
right.
And when he was a Northern Powerhouse minister. And do you know something, Patrick? I mean, he's a solicitor, trained solicitor, really. That's his background. But he's got such a sound mind. He's so bright. The grasp of the brief. He's brave. But he's also an amazing campaigner. I mean, how he held his, marginal seat initially. He was one of the first Red Wall, and is bringing a wealth of experience to the party. Is a mate of mine. I'm proud he's come.
How big a blow is this for the Conservatives? Because he's a former chairman of the Tory party, and now he's decided that they are in terminal decline, as is Britain, and he needs to join Reform.
And we've got more to come as well, Patrick. I mean, I've known a while that Jake was coming over. I've had conversations myself, and I was very proud to see David Jones come over, fellow Spartan. We was in the ERG together. So we're getting some, and he was, the Welsh secretary. So, I'd like to see him running the campaign in Wales next year. That's what I'd like to see.
OK. Because there are some allegations, and Nigel Farage gone a little bit soft on certain things like immigration. He said he was to the left of Robert Jenrick, who's going to be in this studio in a couple of minutes' time, actually. But you don't buy that, do you? You think that this is...
Look, I was at the press conference only about a month or 5 weeks ago when he got asked about immigration, and where he said about me putting people in tents, he said, no, we need to deport them. So, no, he's been quite strong on it. Definitely.
OK. All right, well, Nigel, thank you very, very much, and thank you for pivoting towards that breaking news for us as well. Look, coming up, yes, as I said, Robert Jenrick is going to be in this studio. Several key stories to get there. Is he actually, as reports come out today, harder on immigration than Nigel Farage? Wanting to respond to Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer's new migrant deal as well. Is it worth the paper that it is not even yet written on? And Just Stop Oil have decided to commit crimes just to annoy him. So we'll be getting his views on all of that and much more. Make sure that you keep it right here on GB News. For Patrick Christys tonight, I've got a huge hour coming your way. Don't move.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The 12th, a day to celebrate history, community and family here in Northern Ireland. Join me, Arlene Foster.
And me, Dougie Beattie, as we bring you live coverage of the July 12th celebrations.
Right across the United Kingdom. It's all happening here on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion. Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
the old parties do not have what it takes to transform our country, to build a Britain we can believe in again. And that's why I've decided to join the Reform Party.
it's breaking right now. Former Tory party chairman Sir J. Berry has just defected to Reform. Also tonight.
Now, jury trials have been a central part of our constitution for centuries. In Magna Carta, indeed before it, they are a gift that we have given to the world.
Well, Robert Jenrick will be in this studio in a matter of moments. And is he the new Nigel Farage? It appears that he might be outflanking Nigel on immigration, believe it or not. I want his views on that French migrant deal. Plus,
the main reason this country wisely voted for Brexit back in 2016, and that included millions.
Talking of Nigel Farage, he was heckled in Parliament today by an MP who appears to be in favour of people having sex with their first cousins. Also,
is a tax on all of our constituent savings, on their houses, on their pensions. It would be a tax on aspiration. Will the Prime Minister rule this out?
Well, Sir Keir Starmer was skewered on tax rises. What does it mean for the money in your pocket? On my panel tonight, Director of the Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, former Tory MP, Jonathan Gullis, and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. And what on earth is going on here?
Like, we support our people, you know? We love our immigrants. Yes, Superman is an immigrant.
To be fair, if all immigrants were like Superman, it wouldn't really be a problem, would it? But anyway, from 11 p.m. until midnight, it's Late Edition for the first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages and any breaking news as well. So get ready, Britain. Here we go. A huge defection to Reform and a really poor migrant deal with the French. Robert Jenrick's in the studio. Next.
Good evening, it's 2 minutes past 10. I'm Katie Bowen in the GB newsroom. The small boats crisis is a, quote, shared priority that requires shared solutions. Sir Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron agreed as they met earlier today. The French president said France's renewed partnership with the UK was a game changer as he met with the Prime Minister in Downing Street for talks. The Prime Minister is hoping to strike a one-in, one-out deal to send small boat migrants back to the continent in exchange for the UK accepting asylum seekers in Europe who have a British link. Also today, Sir Keir Starmer says we are now entering a new era of world history. That's as he joined the French President at the British Museum to mark France loaning the Bayeux Tapestry to the UK. As part of the announcement, the Sutton Hoo artefacts will be loaned to France in a cultural exchange next year. The Southport inquiry heard impact statements from the families of 4 girls who survived the attacks today. The mother of one of the girls said that her daughter fought like hell to save herself and others, despite being severely injured. The testimony was heard at Liverpool Town Hall after inquiry chairman Sir Adrian Fulford began proceedings yesterday. The inquiry has now been adjourned and is set to begin again on the 8th of September, where it's expected to hear evidence about the circumstances of the attack and Axel Rudder-Cabana's contact with various agencies. A police officer has denied he lost control in the aftermath of being allegedly assaulted by 2 brothers at Manchester Airport. The trials of Mohammed Fahir Amaz and Mohammed Ahmad continue at Liverpool Crown Court and both deny the allegations. Our reporter Jack Carson was in court for proceedings today.
The cross-examination of PC Zachary Marsden continued at Liverpool Crown Court today as the defence questioned his actions on the day of the alleged assaults. We saw CCTV footage in court and mobile phone footage that was shown in court and shown to the jury, appearing to show PC Marsden with his knee on the back of Mr. Amaz and also on the head and neck area of Mr. Ahmad. The defence put to PC Marsden today that he had not been honest with the jury or acted with integrity that day, saying he abused his position as a firearms officer using unnecessary, disproportionate and unreasonable force. They were claims that PC Marsden denied. We also heard today in court about how he feared for his own security. The trial here continues.
And former Conservative Party chairman Sir Jake Berry has defected to Reform UK. In a video posted to X, Mr Berry said that only Reform and Nigel Farage can deliver a Britain that we're proud of, saying that the current system is broken. The defection is the second this week, after former Cabinet Minister David Jones also joined Mr Farage's party. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now let's go over to Patrick.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Well, welcome back. A slightly different start to this hour. The breaking news tonight is that former Tory party chairman Sir Jake Berry has defected to Reform. So the former Red Wall MP said that Reform were, quote, the last chance to pull Britain back from terminal decline. And he did release a video for The Sun, who got the scoop on this. He said that the Tories had, quote, lost their way as he tore up his membership after 25 years. Well, as luck would have it, previously booked in was the Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick. I'm pleased to say the man himself joins me in the studio now. Well, thank you very much.
Good evening, Patrick.
We have to react to this. So your former party chairman is now a Reform member. What do you make of that?
Well, look, Patrick, it's always sad to see former colleagues go to other political parties, but I disagree with Jake. There's 4 years to go to the next general election. I'm confident that over time, if my party can listen to the public, be painfully honest about the mistakes it made, and bring forward actual solutions to the big challenges that are facing the country right now, that we can begin to rebuild the trust and the confidence of the British public. The Tory party existed for 200 years. It has been through difficult periods in the past, and time and again, it has brought forward the solutions that have helped turn the country around, get it out of big challenges, and that's what I want to see it do in the future. And I'm certainly going to stay in the Tory party and fight to ensure that it is true to Conservative values and that it has those answers to the challenges the country faces.
I mean, he's been described as a hammer blow to Kemi Badenoch, mainly because the former chairman of that party now clearly does not feel that she's fit to lead them into the next general election or change the direction of the Tory party. It's a concern, isn't it?
Well, look, I understand why people are attracted to Nigel Farage. I respect him. I respect his longevity in British politics. But I don't think that he's the person who's going to bring forward the really serious answers to the big challenges facing the country. And that is what, under Kemi's leadership, the Conservative Party is setting out to do.
OK, just on that, you mentioned Nigel Farage there. We're going to come on to that in a second, I think, because I did read with some interest in a new statement. A new statement article that basically you were outflanking Nigel Farage on immigration. But I do want to talk initially about this migrant deal between the French and Keir Starmer, which the details have emerged in the French press, which appear to say that we are going to be sending back 50 people a week. What do you make of this deal?
Well, look, we don't know the details yet. All we can read is what's available in the French press. And we've been led on a merry dance in the past by Emmanuel Macron, and we've paid 800 million quid to France for very little in return. But if it's correct that this is a deal whereby we send back a maximum of 50 illegal migrants every day, then that... A week, rather. That is not going to work. That hasn't got a cat in hell's chance of working. We've had days where 1,000 illegal migrants have broken into our country, and if only a tiny percentage of them are ultimately going to go back to France, that is not a deterrent. That is not going to break the gangs. It's not going to change the business model. What we need is a simple deterrent whereby everyone who comes into our country on a small boat is immediately removed, either back home, or if we can't send them back to their own country, then it's to a safe third country like Rwanda. That is the only way that we will end this problem once and for all. And although, of course, I welcome efforts to try and work with the French to the extent that you cannot rely on the kindness of strangers to protect the borders of the United Kingdom. We need a sovereign deterrent where we are in the driving seat and we protect the borders of our country once and for all.
But are you now to the right of Nigel Farage when it comes to illegal immigration? So we've got, I think, the front page of the New Statesman magazine that they published earlier on, which I'm hoping we can bring up there. So here you are, front and centre. Nigel Farage is on one side and we've got David Cameron on the other. I'm going to quote Nigel Farage here. He says, I was talking about you, I'll give him credit for some good videos and for trying hard, but we can't get away from the record of the last 14 years, OK. He basically questions whether or not you are a modern-day convert, wants to leave the ECHR. He asks why you've been having lunch with Cameron and Osborne. But he says that he hasn't fought the change itself, which I believe is to do with mass immigration, providing it comes with integration. It's led to a lot of people online saying that you now are to the right of Farage on immigration. What do you think?
Well, look, I know where I stand. On immigration, I have a very clear view. On illegal migration, detain and deport everyone who comes here into this country on small boats. Get every single illegal migrant out of our country as quickly as possible. And on legal migration, set a cap in Parliament, make it the law of the land, and set that as low as possible to give the country breathing space. I don't know where Nigel stands on those issues. He himself seems to be moving around, and there are some things that he will not say. Only this week, when we had the memorial for 7/7, he was one of the leaders who was not willing to say that the people who perpetrated that terrible attack were Islamist terrorists. So there seem to be some things that he's not willing to say. I know exactly where I stand on these issues, and I think it's foursquare with millions of people across our country.
What should that cap be on legal migrants, do you think?
Look, I would set it as low as possible, tens of thousands or lower, because I think the country needs breathing space. There's been immense harm in recent years, over the course of the last 25 years, frankly, as a result of mass migration, housing pressures. We've undercut the wages of British workers. Public services are under pressure, and our country is disunited because you cannot integrate successfully millions of people. So I would set it as low as possible.
I do want to get you on something that is actually directly within your brief, of course. So we did have a bit of breaking news there to put to you. But the senior judge, has called for the government to scrap automatic jury trials in order to tackle a record court case backlogs. This is Sir Brian Leveson. He recommended the removal of defendants' rights to elect a jury trial in cases where the maximum sentence is 2 years imprisonment. So those cases of, well, they can include, well, child porn cases, actually, and assaults on emergency workers and allegations of fraud. Well, so where are you on this? Is this a good thing to clear that backlog, or is this really, I suppose, the removal of a human right, in a sense?
Well, I think we should defend jury trials. Look, jury trials matter now more than ever before. We have had one of the most respected judiciaries in the world, one of the most independent judiciaries in the world, but there are questions being asked right now about some of our judges who are making decisions that are completely out of step with the British public, out of step with what Parliament itself voted on immigration, asylum, on freedom of speech. And we need the safeguard that comes with the right to elect a jury trial. And now we're saying, you know, we're going to get rid of them in some cases. Of course we need to get the court backlog down. That's really important. It can't be right that really serious cases like rape trials are being listed for 2029. But even the government's own report says this is going to make the most limited impact on getting the court backlog down. And in terms of cost cutting, it saves £31 million, 0.2% of the Ministry of Justice annual budget. Is that the price that you put on one of our most ancient liberties, something that goes back to Magna Carta? Countries all over the world have taken this up as a result of what we did as a country. The United States,
do you have more faith in the British public than judges, basically? Because I suppose that's what...
I think at the heart of this is, who do you trust, judges or the British public? And I put my faith in the British public. And I think one of the reasons why Labour is attracted to this idea and is now considering it is that they actually think judges know best. And I think Keir Starmer time and again shows that, whether it's handing over the Chagos Islands because some international court judges said that we should do, whether it's defending blindly the European Convention on Human Rights, where I think we should leave it, or now restricting the right to a jury trial. When he says the rule of law, he means rule by lawyers. I mean rule by Parliament and the people. That's why we should defend jury trials.
All right, now, very quickly, I'm going to have just a 1 or 2 sentence answer from you on this, if that's OK. But of course, I think Just Stop Oil decided that they were going to hit back at you, didn't they? There was... you did your big thing about, you know, doing the... you know, showing the fare dodgers, didn't you, on that? And it went down very well. Well, Just Stop Oil... Oh, well, someone just steaming to you. I can't repeat exactly what they said, but they did tell you that they didn't like you very much on social media. Well, you know...
Well, I didn't lose any sleep over that, that's for sure.
What would you do to those people there that have dodged those fares?
Well, I've reported them to British Transport Police. So hopefully... No, I'm not holding my breath, but hopefully we get them banged to rights.
Well, you'd see. Anyway, presumably a CCTV. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Show.
Have a good evening.
Shadow Justice Minister. Right, OK, I'm going to whiz myself around to my panel now. We've been waiting diligently over there, so I will head off. Thank you very much, Robert. See you in a sec. Right, OK, so let's go to Mark Littlewood, Jonathan Gullis and Nina Mishkov. Lots to talk about there. I mean, I suppose, first things first, well, I suppose we might as well do the jury trials. Do you feel positive about a lack of juries?
It's a disaster. I completely agree with what Robert has just said. The key thing here is a principle of British justice is ultimately you can only go down if you're sentenced and finally convicted by a jury of your peers. That's to say, an agent of the state can't just put you in jail for a long stretch. Magistrates for a short stretch, but the concept there was that they at least used to be embedded in the community. So we should emphatically not allow us to get into a situation in which it's not normal people who finally decide your fate, it's agents of the state and the legal system. That would be ripping up 900 years of British justice.
Your views on this?
No, look, Robert's bang on the money. We should have jury trials. At the end of the day, I think Robert's repeatedly called for the fact that there are courts sitting empty and not even actually doing the job. So if you want to sort out the backlog, first of all, get all the courts open and let's make sure judges are sitting in them and defendants are having to come before and state their case. We live in a two-tier justice system where we have judges at the moment allowing people to remain in this country because they don't like foreign chicken nuggets or because they have speech impediments when it comes to illegal migrants. Why on earth would I trust a judge to fairly impose the law when we see also sentencing in many cases not being anywhere near the maximum amounts it should be, and MPs and others having to appeal under the unduly lenient sentence scheme as well. It would be a travesty to allow judges who are acting far too much in an activist way these days.
Well, there we go. I mean, from the line from Mr. Jenrick there, and really kind of similar, I suppose, from the two gentlemen we have on this panel, Nina, is that we want that backstop of a jury of your peers being able to make that decision, as opposed to, as Robert Jenrick put it, rule by lawyers. Your views?
Well, of course, everyone wants trial by jury, which is a cornerstone of our British system, or even though it's not written in our constitution, because we don't have a written constitution. That's all very well. You can use all the fine words you want. However, the practical situation is 14 years of Tory misrule has left us with completely broken justice and criminal system. The prisons are full. They were full when Rishi Sunak was in power. We don't have enough barristers. Barristers went on strike in 2022 under the Tory government. We don't have enough staff in the courts. We don't have enough of anything. The courts are falling down, literally. They've not been maintained. And it's all very well for Robert to say that, but he's part of a government that actually just let the system disintegrate. It's appalling. It's such hypocrisy. Saying, well, this is all dreadful. This is Keir Starmer, blah, blah, blah. It's not.
A lot of people would feel it's another hangover of the old COVID lockdowns, actually.
Yeah.
That was part of it.
Yeah, well, which a lot of people were really in favour for, including yourself.
But COVID has been over now for, what, 3 years? 3 years.
Nina, but however much you want to criticise all of the ills of Britain on the previous Tory government, who even I, as a member of the Tory party, would agree had a patchy record, you don't throw out the principle of jury trial because the Department of Justice wasn't brilliantly run by the Conservatives for a few years.
No,
this is a right that goes back hundreds of years.
I understand
the idea is
that.
even being contemplated. So what I'm sort of waiting for is this government going to do anything to actually fix the problematic part of its inheritance, or is it just going to complain about it and then ride roughshod over ancient British liberties like trial by jury?
What they have changed is the fact that you do not have a right to a jury trial if your sentence is under a year. That's the law at the moment, and presumably the Conservatives were OK with that, and they've extended that now to 2 years. So it's not exactly we've throwing the rule book up on the fire.
Away at jury trial, isn't it?
The thing is, the problem I would have, Jonathan, I'll get your views on this, is that we've had an incredible amount of what I would call activist judges, and it's exposed mostly, I think, through these bizarre immigration decisions that we've had. I mean, absolutely bonkers. I mean, including things like, people who've been convicted of paedophilia who we won't deport to Pakistan because they need to spend more time with their kids. And you think, well, hang on a minute, there's an obvious problem there, isn't there? And if these are the judges that are making the decisions on that, I'm not really sure I'd want them making decisions. Hopefully I'll never end up in that situation. Making decisions about me, to be honest with you, because maybe if they are rabidly left-wing, they're going to take a dim view of me. Are they going to end up letting people off for doing things because, they happen to be acting in the name of Black Lives Matter or Extinction Rebellion, and those are worthy causes? I don't think I trust these judges.
Well, I've already said it earlier, Patrick, and I say it again. At the end of the day, we've got judges making decisions, again, about children not liking foreign chicken nuggets, people having speech impediments, others who are paedophiles not being deported because not just that they have family over here, but they may face persecution back in their own country. Well, thank God for that. I hope they do. And let's get them on that plane as soon as bloody possible to face it. Because ultimately, it's not our place to be keeping these foreign national offenders in this country. We've got activist judges deciding to do so. We've also seen that with the net zero zealotry of some judges saying that we've got the climate, the net zero stuff is somehow an act of our right to life or whatever it is. International law, Nina, at the end of the day, is something that the Labour Party says that they hold in the utmost regard, even though international law is a concept, not an actual thing. Those are treaties, for example, and contracts that can be broken or unsigned at any moment. Why is it that we're willing to say international law should never be played with, but willing to remove the right to jury trial? As Mark said, that has had 900 years in the basis of
international law is a consensus of the world, actually.
But consensus, there you go.
International law, which most countries of the world agree to, and because these things are enshrined in terms of the law, and everybody agrees with them. I mean, just because it's inconvenient. But I'm just saying they're moving it by 12 months. That's all they are doing. And they're actually saying that if somebody pleads guilty, instead of reducing your sentence by 33%, you're reducing it by 40%.
OK.
It's not a huge thing.
Look, I just want to tease you, because shortly we're going to be doing to the front pages, and then of course in the next hour we're going to be really getting stuck into the front pages. The Sun's front page is a good one, a kick in the goals they've got there, saying that they are going off what we spoke about at 9 p.m, which is that apparently we're going to be sending just basically 50 blokes a week back to France, whereas that's not even enough. That's less than the amount that come over on boat. That's less than one boat. But anyway, still plenty of time for you to grab your biggest cash prize ever, £54,321. Come on, what are you waiting for?
You have the chance to win our biggest cash prize to date in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just the chance to sit back, relax, and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, loads coming your way. All of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Some breaking news on the front of the Daily Telegraph. The Prime Minister's controversial Attorney General Lord Hermer apparently has a veto over government policy. So there you go. Just to clarify as well, that is the man that during his legal career represented one of the masterminds for the 9/11 terror attacks, has a veto over government policy, reportedly. Brilliant stuff. But first,
a tax on all of our constituent savings, on their houses, on their pensions. It would be a tax on aspiration. Will the Prime Minister rule this out?
Well, shock horror, he didn't, because the Prime Minister refused to rule out a wealth tax earlier today. The economy's in the toilet. Really, the OBR thinks it's Labour's fault. And who is getting taxed and by how much? I've got an expert on, he's sitting very close to me now, to reveal all about the money in your pocket. That's next.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Is J.K. Rowling an extremist, radicalised TERF?
It's extraordinarily patronising to suggest that a woman who's created whole new magical worlds from her own imagination has to be radicalised by other people in order to form her own views. And that in itself I find extremely patronising. And, you know, a man may think that women don't have our own rich inner life and form our own political views, but we do, as Nana's just demonstrated. But secondly, there's nothing radical about believing that men and women are material realities, and sometimes in law, in policy, in life, that matters. That's her position. It's a very common, in fact, it's a majority position.
James, what is a woman?
But that's Nana.
Well, no, I'm just wondering. Well, it's just a simple question, because no. I'm just asking, what is a woman then? Because do you believe that a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man?
Yes, because man and woman is gendered.
So what is a woman? So what is a woman?
There is male and there is female, which is sex. This is a problem that I think a lot of you have. I'm a feminist. I believe in women's rights. I believe in women's safety. But the problem here is we are focusing on an absolute minority of people who have no, when you look at it in the round, who have no threat to women. you know, statistically have
you
no
don't know
threat
that.
to
You
women
listen.
in the way
You
that,
don't. The threat to women.
Sorry, not in the way that men
women.
are. This is the whole problem. Is that you saying man dressing up as a woman?
Yes.
That's despicable, Nana.
Well, it's the truth.
That is not the reality.
What else?
Do you have any Nana, do you have any trans friends?
I have plenty of.
Do you mix with trans people?
I have mixed with trans people. I mix with all people.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. I had a first sight at the front pages. Amazing stuff on there. Obviously, we've got this defection to Reform UK by the former chairman of the Tory party, Jake Berry. Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, well, it looks as though he's got a veto on government policy. Yes, that Lord Hermer. Lord Hermer with, I would argue, a very checkered legal history and some quite insane political views, which he would deny. But first, the Prime Minister has refused to rule out introducing a wealth tax earlier today. He's battling to raise billions of pounds after his capitulation on welfare reform last week. He was pressed on this at PMQs today.
Mr. Speaker, what is more worrying is that now he's flirting with Neil Kinnock's demand for a wealth tax. Let's be honest about what that means. This is a tax on all of our constituent savings, on their houses, on their pensions. It would be a tax on aspiration. Will the Prime Minister rule this out?
Mr. Fitchie says we shouldn't be asking them for advice on the economy. She's absolutely right about that. We will not be asking for their advice. What we did in the budget was stabilise the economy through the measures taken by the Chancellor.
It's just another unanswered question, isn't it? She's not ruled it out. Yesterday, the Office for Budget Responsibility warned that Britain's finances are in an absolute mess. The Public Spending Watchdog's report painted a worrying picture. Debt is projected to soar to 270% of GDP by 2070. The state pension could consume 7.5% of the entire economy within 50 years. The transition to net zero is expected to cost £800 billion by 2050. We've had a U-turn, U-turn, U-turn. And if I can bring up, possibly please, the front page of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph, it's got this story, which is proof that being on benefits pays more than a full-time job. Mark Littlewood is with us in the studio here now, economic guru. Mark, where to start? I mean, grief. So this wealth tax, how's that relatable for my viewers and listeners who might be thinking, well, I don't know if a wealth tax affects me. What does it mean?
Yeah, so a wealth tax would be looking at your total assets, probably including your house, any savings you've got. Difficult to measure exactly how much stuff you've got, but the idea would be, let's say you've got £1 million worth of stuff, a house, some savings and all the rest of it.
Even a car? Would a
car, you potentially count everything in. I mean, damn difficult to measure. And then you say, right, well, we are going to want to confiscate, let's say, 1% of that per year. Now, we don't know whether the government will do this. We don't know how wealthy you'd have to be before they came after you. I think Neil Kinnock was suggesting a tax of 2% on anything above 10 million. So that would only hit the rich, the very rich. Not many people have got 10 million.
Yeah.
But it would be a disaster. Virtually every European country that has tried this has ended up scrapping it because you need the ultra-rich to stay in Britain and come to Britain. And we need more people who are worth £10 million coming here, whereas at the moment, millionaires are fleeing.
We also need people to feel as though maybe one day they could make £10 million.
Exactly. You need aspiration and all of the rest of it.
Aspiration.
So The problem that's happening at the moment, and I would say the Labour government has doubled down on it, but the drift happened to some degree under the Conservatives, is we are throwing more and more money at the unproductive side of the economy. People on benefits, people working in the public sector, which has had a productivity crisis. The NHS is now 10% less productive than it was 15 years ago. And we're paying for all of that unproductive activity by hitting the productive side of the economy harder and harder and harder. That is the route to terminal decline. The finances of Britain are unsustainable and eventually they won't be sustained.
Right, well, there you go. And this brings us on to what's on one of the stories anyway on the front of the Daily Telegraph tomorrow. Proof that benefits pays more than a full-time job. So the jobless and people on sick benefits will soon receive £2,500 more a year than a minimum wage worker. That is really astonishing.
It is astonishing and disastrous, because what happens is people respond to incentives, Patrick, right? So if you're thinking, look, you know, I'm quite low down on the career ladder, but I'm willing to put in a hard shift, you know, I'll try and work my way up. But then you realise you could make more by not lifting a finger, not getting off your couch. Which option are you going to choose? And obviously, a very large number of people will choose the softer, cushy option. So we are well back into the scenario of making welfare not a kind of you know, a sort of safety blanket. I mean, we made it a way of life. It's not just a bounce back. It's a kind of, do you want that life? And we've now got in the UK potentially getting to the sort of third generation of people who have been in workless households. Just the idea of having a job has just become alien in a whole range of households. We've got to actually get back, I think, to the principles of the welfare state when it was founded, that the support should be at subsistence levels and it should be temporary.
And I wonder whether or not the government hasn't accounted for a major psychological shift in Britain, where previously, maybe, a lot of people felt as though that the upper middle class and the upper class should possibly pay a bit more tax to help out people who were struggling at the bottom. But now, the point is that so many people at the bottom who don't want to get off their backsides and do stuff, that you can earn more not doing anything than you can if you bother to go out and break a sweat every now and again. Then actually, I think that there are people out there now who are not upper middle class and who are not wealthy that don't think that those people who've gone out and earned a bit of money should be paying more tax for those people, because it doesn't seem fair.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And we've our tax system has become what's called more and more progressive. We've been taking more and more chunks from the rich and the successful, who obviously should pay a reasonable share. But it's now the top 1% of income tax earners now contribute nearly 30% of income tax. Imagine if that top 1%, I'm not saying this would happen overnight, but imagine if that top 1% say, I've had enough of this, I'm off. I'm moving to the States, or I'm retiring early, or I'm going to Singapore or Dubai. That's a 30% of all income tax receipts disappear overnight. So you can only pluck enough feathers off this before the goose that lays the golden egg starts screaming. And I would think those high-earning people are beginning to scream.
Look, it's crumbling. It's crumbling. You've got people leaving. You've got people, well-meaning people, who probably supported the last junior doctor's pay rise, who are now saying, absolutely no way am I paying more tax for that. You've got ordinary people with a migrant hotel at the end of their road who previously have been quite mild-mannered Lib Dems, who are now thinking, oh, wait a minute, there's no way I'm paying more tax because it's going there. All of this stuff, it is crumbling. The proof revealed in the Telegraph that benefits pay more than a full-time job. Anyway, Martin Littlewood there. I'll see you again in a second, because coming up, we do have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. That controversial story, also on the front of the Telegraph as it happens, is that the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, apparently has a veto on government policy. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Largely sunny skies across the Mediterranean. It is a little bit breezy in parts of Greece and Turkey over the next couple of days, but still lots of blue sky to be had here. Small chance of a shower in Croatia, but mostly they're staying away to the north and east. Small chance of a shower across Catalonia as well, but most of Spain dry and sunny. Bit of an onshore breeze, bringing some cloud to the coasts of Portugal, and fine and sunny in the Canaries. Continued risk of a shower or two in Barcelona into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A very good evening to you. Temperatures rising over the next few days. Another heat wave for a large part of the country. Strong July sunshine thanks to this strong area of high pressure. There is a weather front just draped over northern Scotland that will continue to bring some cloud and patchy rain here through the night and for tomorrow. But most places under the influence of high pressure will be dry. Light winds may turn a bit misty in a few spots, particularly around western coast, and it will be quite a warm night, especially so in the southeast and East Anglia, 16-17 to start the day on Thursday. Should be a lot of sunshine across England and Wales tomorrow, more so than today, although parts of the west will start a little drab and a little misty, probably starting fairly cloudy too for Northern Ireland. Good chunk of central, southern and eastern Scotland also having a sunny day tomorrow. But on the west coast, a grey starts. Likely to be some rain and drizzle at times here too. For Northern Ireland, maybe a bit of drizzle at times along the north coast, but generally it will be a fine day. Some sunny spells coming through in Belfast and lots of sunshine for England and Wales. These western coasts likely to start with some mist and low cloud, and that may take a while to shift because the winds are so light, but certainly many inland areas having a lot of sunshine tomorrow. And it will be hot sunshine as well. Temperatures higher than today's values, likely to get over 30 degrees somewhere across the southeast and many places into the mid-20s at least. And it's starting to turn warmer still across parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Friday's a similar story. The threat of thicker cloud and drizzle at times over the northern and the western Isles. Threat of some mist and low cloud around coasts, Irish Sea coast, perhaps North Sea coast too. But for most, it's hot and sunny on Friday, and temperatures ticking up even further, more widely up into the high 20s, and a few more places likely to exceed 30 degrees. May well get hotter for the weekend.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. So let's do the first raft of front pages. The first paper that we've got here, or that I've got anyway, is Daily Telegraph. Benefits pay more than being in work. Claimants on full handouts will earn £2,500 more a year, or not earn, as it turns out to be given, £2,500 a year more than those on minimum wage. There's also a story at the bottom. Attorney General Lord Herman gives himself a veto over government policy. Lots to discuss there. The Daily Express. Fury at junior doctors' strike. Medics threaten a 5-day walkout. I mean, look, Keir Starmer's getting a taste of his own medicine here, isn't he, when it comes to the unions and strikes, and he thought it'd be so easy to sort it out. And it turns out they want more. No. The Eye. Labour will target the rich but won't call it a wealth tax, says Minister. All right, great. OK, fantastic. Well, that'll do. No one will see through that, will they? Let's go to The Sun. A kick in the goals. France to take... sorry, that's the Daily Mail. Proof work doesn't pay under Labour. It's the same story that the Telegraph's got here. Sickness benefits to be worth £2,500 a year. Let's zone in on the Daily Telegraph. We've done that benefits story in the last section there, so I'm going to move on now. Attorney General Lord Herman gives himself a veto over government policy. The substance of this story is that guidance given to the government lawyers by the Attorney General and the previous version of the document basically shows that he's given himself an effective veto over government policy. This is Lord Herman, the Attorney General, the man who, I mean, spent his legal career representing some incredibly fruity people, including one of the masterminds of the 9/11 terrorist attack, so that we'd never leave the ECHR, all sorts. So what do you make of this, Mark?
Well, I mean, look, truth of the matter is, it increasingly looks like we're not really run by a democratically elected government. We're run by a human rights law firm with a parliament sort of semi-attached to it.
Honestly.
We were discussing this earlier on jury trial and all the rest of it. This government is too obsessed with lawyers, the rule of law, conventions. We've actually got to re-empower the politicians we choose to elect rather than tie them in knots. And this is what Lord Hermer's doing.
This guy's a menace, right? This guy is a menace. He's got a very weird political ideology that the vast majority of people in Britain do not agree with and do not align with. There was even stuff... For example, where was he on Chagos? Well, we know where he's on Chagos. We've got him on things like, illegal immigration. We know where he is on illegal immigration. You've got here as well, he gave the advice to the government not to join the US and Israel in the strikes on Iran because that might breach international law. So he's making these huge decisions, Jonathan.
Well, look, and this is the problem, isn't it? So Keir Starmer has put one of his best mates, Lord Hermer, into Cabinet via the House of Lords, and as Mark said, therefore cannot be so easily held to democratic account, and essentially is an absolute nightmare for the government. I think we've actually had even cabinet ministers off the record, should I say, moaning and groaning about the fact that he's a constant blocker to wanting to get things done. And so I think that he is one of the major headaches, alongside Rachel Reeves, that Keir Starmer's going to have if there's any chance of him even trying to vaguely get his government back on track.
You know, Nina, this sums up the Labour Party. You have got an international human rights lawyer running the country, and he decided to impose his great friend into that position, who has got no democratic accountability because he doesn't have to stand for election like most people in politics, general elections. So he's parachuted him in. That guy has got an incredibly niche set of political views, but is in charge of, it would appear, government policy. I mean, this is just mad.
You're guessing that he has an incredibly niche set of political views.
We know what his views are.
No, you don't.
I think he not compare people who want to leave the ECHR to the Nazis.
Yeah, he made a speech where he even had to apologise for making that comparison. He said 1930s Germany.
What do you think?
But the point being that whoever he has defended in the past, it's like a surgeon. You don't quibble about who you operate on. That's part of it. You are completely objective when you are defending somebody. That's always been. And also, why should he be ridiculed for wanting to uphold the rule of law? We've got to maintain the rule of law, surely. I don't understand why you think that's so wrong.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because if his views on illegal immigration are, as I very strongly suspect they are, then that could have a huge impact on government policy on illegal immigration.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the problem. The problem with the rule of law, Nina, is not that people like myself are advocating for anarchy. It's that we've now enshrined certain laws we touch on virtually every week on this show, things like your right to family and a private life, which the Attorney General and the lawyers in government are going to block policies put forward by MPs. So, of course, you need the rule of law, but this is now the rule of lawyers. This is going to be the Attorney General telling Cabinet Ministers, you can't do X, you can't do Y. Apparently there's going to be a new snitch clause. Civil servants should inform Lord Hermer directly if ministers may be about to break the law.
Ridiculous.
I mean,
that's the same under the previous government.
No, it's not. This includes inserting a new snitch clause, telling civil servants to inform him if ministers may be about to break the law.
We have heard from, a source close to Lord Hermer on this. By the way, can I just say, this guy's lack of accountability is unbelievable. Doesn't feel, you can't get through to him anyway. A source close to Lord Hermer said that the accusations against him were, quote, desperate nonsense from a Tory party that has lost credibility on law and order and upholding the rule of law.
That's quite true.
The source said that this guidance demands lawyers to be creative solution finders, enabling our ambitious plan for change to succeed, unblocking obstacles so their policies are not held up for years in the court, as was always the way under the last administration.
By people like him, yeah.
But what's wrong with saying that for us to join the US and Israel in the bombing is illegal.
Because it wasn't illegal. It wasn't targeting a specific nuclear site.
Because
ultimately...
We weren't being threatened.
Right, fine. I get that. The government went out on the media the weekend, because after the bombing, the government went out on the... Jonathan Reynolds... Jonathan Reynolds went out on the airwaves and said that there were direct threats of Iranian nationals living in the UK that pose a serious threat. So if that is the case, we should flatten the nuclear sites and we should be taking out the Ayatollah without hesitation.
If we are threatened by...
We are threatened by Iran.
If we are threatened by Iranian nationals living in this country, that is not an excuse to go and bomb Iran.
State-sponsored
No.
It's a decision for the Prime Minister, not for a lawyer. It's got to be a decision for the Prime Minister.
The law has to come into it, otherwise we get into the weapons of mass destruction.
The question would be, and we're going to have to move on now, but the question would be what interpretation of the law? And Lord Hermer's interpretation of the law might be quite different from what a lot of other people's interpretation of the law could be, and that could be a bit of a problem. Anyway, Lord Hermer obviously would deny any wrongdoing, all of that stuff, so there we go. Anyway, I'm sure he's a nice guy. Well, I've got the rest of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, including a really big viral clip. Nigel Farage being heckled in the House of Commons today, seemingly from a man who went into bat for being able to sleep with your cousin. So there we go.
Who is he? What's he doing there?
They already know who you are, though.
Don't miss this special reunion. Eamon and Anne together again, only on GB News Breakfast this weekend from 6 a.m.
And is that a gardening tan?
No, it's a cypress tan.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
My eye this morning, because I say it all the time. You can't say gents at work. You're deemed to be not inclusive.
It's not inclusive. This comes from a tribunal which took place where a woman took umbrage at one of her bosses using the term in an email, dear gents. Well, you can't use the word gent. I mean, I wonder what it's like when you go to the gents now, whether you have to say going to the non-gender specific lavatories. It's a phrase. It shows that you're a bit old, they say, using the word gents. Now, I mean, I don't regard myself as old, although some may disagree with that.
This caught my eye as well, because one of your lovely presenters, who's on, I believe, at 6 o'clock, Michelle Dewberry, she very often says, you know, thank you, gents. I don't think she's polite. I don't think she's going to be changing. But when you look into this story, there is a little bit more to this than meets the eye, because this email was sent round by management in this insurance company, and one of the ladies who was on a list to be made redundant, along with men, used that email as evidence as to why there was discrimination going on. So there was a little bit more to this, and what the court said was that, you know, this was clumsy language, but this was managerial incompetence. And I don't think we should in any way take that as meaning it's got any wider.
So hang on, the court even said it's clumsy language?
The court said it was clumsy language.
In itself.
I mean, they shouldn't be using that language, but what I'm saying is I don't think this means that we have to all change our behaviour because of this one.
But what next, Anna?
Decision.
I've noticed a trend among, particularly in younger people, to call people guys, even women.
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. So let's do the front pages again. The Guardian, well, Labour MPs are calling on the Prime Minister to tackle the cost of living crisis. Well, maybe they should have called on each other when they had an opportunity to do that. They've also got the Daily Mirror. Astonishing bravery of Southport children. A really moving, powerful, serious and depressing story, this. The parents have hailed survivors who faced the knifeman alone, and one girl who was 7 shielded others during that murderous attack. The Sun kicking the goals. France to take back 50 migrants a week in the PM's deal. Absolutely shocking stuff, this. 40,000 have arrived in a year. I mean, that's what we get out of it. So there you go. Right, let's just deal with this clip first here. So Nigel Farage in the House of Commons earlier today was PMQs. He stood up to ask a question, and I believe we can show you now. This is the reaction that Nigel Farage got in Parliament. Listen closely.
The main reason this country wisely voted for Brexit back in 2016, and that included millions of Labour supporters, is because we wanted to take back control of our borders so that we and we alone could decide who comes and settles in our country.
Yeah, the bloke who was doing most of the heckling, I mean, it's ridiculous. The speaker didn't get hold of anything, but one of the blokes who did most of the heckling there was a guy called Iqbal Mohammed, who famously went over the top for cousin marriage not that long ago in Parliament, in one of the more extraordinary interventions I've ever seen. I would argue, therefore, possibly loses a lot of credibility in the eyes of the average British man and woman.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what do you make of Farage being heckled, though? That's possibly quite a good advert for him.
Nigel Farage will be delighted with that. It used to be the case that in order to try and stop the smaller parties represented in Parliament, I appreciate Reform are top of the polls, but they've only got, it's back down to 4 MPs now. But the usual tactic...
It varies on a weekly basis,
Yeah, it does.
doesn't it?
But the usual tactic is like, just walk out. Yeah, all of the MPs on the Labour side walk out as Farage asks the questions, and it just looks after the Lord Mayor's show. He will be delighted that he's being heckled by loony left Labour MPs. Manna from heaven for him.
Well, I think first of all, I'm quite appalled that the Speaker didn't intervene.
Yeah,
I say this as someone who was, had experience in the chamber. I genuinely believe, had that been either Sir Keir Starmer or Kemi Badenoch or Ed Davey receiving that treatment, he would have stood up and told MPs to calm down. So he's seemingly chosen to allow that to take place with Nigel Farage, suspecting that maybe he's fearful of what type of Reform MPs may surround him in his Chorley seat in the upcoming future. But yes, Mark is absolutely bang on the money here, that it's the biggest advert you can give. In fact, the best thing you could do as a tactic, in my personal opinion, is sit in stone cold silence, allow him to ask his question, and then see what Keir Starmer was able to come back with.
The optics of Nigel Farage being essentially heckled by the Gaza gang, Nina, weren't particularly great, were they?
Well, I agree with Jonathan, and the best thing to have done with Nigel Farage for decades is just to ignore him, because he operates with the oxygen of publicity, and this is making waves, obviously, because he was heckled. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that he was heckled by someone who is, very passionate about the Gaza situation. And there are many people who are passionate about the Gaza situation without actually being anti-Semitic, frankly.
OK, all right. Right, look, loads more coming your way. Thank you very much for your work so far. But I have got another hour coming your way. Can I just play you a little clip of something that we're going to be talking about? I think it's a Superman story. We've got this coming your way in the next hour. Just get your heads around this quickly.
Is exactly what the movie is about. I think that, we support our people, we love our immigrants. Yes, Superman is an immigrant.
Oh my gosh, seriously, these people are so thick. Anyway, right, all of that and much more coming your way in the next hour.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Yes, it's time for your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. A very good evening to you. Temperatures rising over the next few days. Another heat wave for a large part of the country. Strong July sunshine thanks to this strong area of high pressure. There is a weather front just draped over northern Scotland that will continue to bring some cloud and patchy rain here through the night and for tomorrow. But most places under the influence of high pressure will be dry. Light winds may turn a bit misty in a few spots, particularly around western coast, and it will be quite a warm night, especially so in the southeast and East Anglia. 16-17 to start the day on Thursday. Should be a lot of sunshine across England and Wales tomorrow, more so than today, although parts of the west will start a little drab and a little misty, probably starting fairly cloudy too for Northern Ireland. Good chunk of central, southern and eastern Scotland also having a sunny day tomorrow. But on the west coast, a grey starts. Likely to be some rain and drizzle at times here too. For Northern Ireland, maybe a bit of drizzle at times along the north.